you want to save money on your trading card purchases, we have a promo link over at 50cards.shop. Enter the promo code ATNIGHT to get 5% off your order. Hey everybody, welcome to Nexus at Night, your weekly Vanguard podcast. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And last week we dropped a Unlocked Tangents episode on you for the actual episode, just in time for a product stream.
I mean, I made a recap video.
That's true, we did.
That nobody watched.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's okay. We're going to do that now. Our takes on that, talk about some tops, and maybe a third thing if we have time. Yeah, why don't we start with this banlist thing that they dropped for premium format?
So they in premium, they have banned Odysseus,
Mm-hmm.
and they have banned Mystery Flare Dragon, the grade 4.
Yes.
And of course the Order Dragon still at 1 because that has not changed.
Wasn't it just in the West, and then now they're doing it like that in Japan? Or no?
I think that was in both formats.
I feel like it was on both, but it might not have been.
It might not have been.
But either way, I guess it's getting put to 1 in Japan just for consistency's sake.
Right.
But yeah, they this is actually a good list.
Mm-hmm.
They hit the cards that needed to be hit. That is the most like oppressive and uninteractive decks in the format.
Mm-hmm.
Ripples kind of makes people lose brain cells. We'll talk about that a bit later when we talk about the topping decks.
Yes.
It gives you like a minus 50 intellect debuff by playing Ripples. Like people are like, my deck does this thing, so I must do the thing, and then they like run into shit and die. But and Mystery Flare is just the lamest deck in existence.
Right,
yes.
Because getting 2 extra turns, no matter how like obtusely it is to obtain it, is just kind of stupid. I believe I mentioned that. They can probably put Mystery Flare to 1 and it'd be okay. You know what? I'm cool with this too.
Just shoot it.
Fine. Yep. I don't care.
Would like to see a hit to Steam Maidens and V, but because that deck is tearing up everything.
Yeah, We'll get to that later.
Also, given its representation in the last couple of formats, Narukami probably needs to be touched in some way. I'm just not entirely sure how.
Yeah.
Important to note that we have not gotten the EN ban list yet. This is just for JP.
Yeah, so this goes into effect October 1st, and they did not say anything about the West, or if we're going to get one at all. I assume we are.
We are getting one. They said to stay tuned for it. So
okay.
Given the current precedent, I imagine we're going to get the hits that Japan saw. We have not yet had a situation where Japan has hit something and we haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be curious to see if they add anything to the ban list, because that's kind of been the difference so far, is we just add more things when we get our ban list.
I will note.
Makes
sorry,
sense.
go ahead.
Or it just makes sense because we have a larger premium community in the West.
And to that degree, they did note that the Japanese ban list looked largely at overseas results, just because there's a lot more premium played overseas than in Japan.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So they are looking overseas to see these decks.
So, if we assume that they add more things to our ban list, what would you want to see in addition to the hits that we got?
V hits are really the main thing. Well, obviously Overtrigger. That will be a constant until it's gone.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you can't.
No, I'm going to bring it up every time.
No, I'm saying you can't not mention it because it's still not happening.
Right.
But also, it's always that. Our opinion is not going to change on that until.
Correct. Yeah, Overtrigger banned all formats, even V, just in case.
Yeah, I mean, the discourse did get brought up a little bit because Orange made a post about it.
I thought our post was pretty reasonable, and there was a bunch of people really upset about it, ?
Yeah.
Orange is usually very, very positive, which is great. But I think she is kind of, I think she's very reasonably frustrated at the games that the Overtrigger can create.
Yeah.
I think like for as positive and cheerful as Orange is, like getting mad about this thing is pretty reasonable. I think like the Overtrigger is really really bad design, and it creates games that are just kind of not games. Which is completely. If you want to play the game from a competitive standpoint, it completely ruins.
Right, and so spoiler, Ty, the one you don't like, Matt, is going to be on this week's Vita Premium transition, and he recently topped in Premium, and he mentioned even like offhandedly as we were talking about the clan that we're covering for this. He said like Link or the Overtrigger made and broke a lot of his games, which is not how it should be.
Yeah, not very surprised.
Yeah, the Overtrigger is just the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But Ripples being gone is still super super good. Yes. Ripples is completely, mostly uninteractive. It can be played against, like you can tech for it basically. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of decks can do that, and some Ripple players will run right into it just because they're going to do the thing. Yeah, and they'll do the thing and then just die to your gigantic vanguards. But Mystery Flare, if it rolls, it rolls. So not much you can do about that one.
Yep.
But glad to see him gone. Again, I would like to see Overtrigger hit in all formats, and I would like some hits to V, I think. And there's probably some additional hits in Premium that you need at some point. Like you said, Narukami, probably Pale Moon, or a change of the stride rule somehow again.
Yeah.
To prevent the ride down decks from being annoying.
I think if they're going to touch Narukami, you can either put Stunverse to 1 and just have what's his face be your big playmaker there. So is that not enough, you think?
Narukami has like 3 separate problem cards right now. Yeah. So there's the Descendant starter that lets you ride up early, because Narukami has a bunch of stuff that just searches out Eradicators. It is actually surprisingly consistent to get the ride up, and I think the current record on Narukami consistently topping in every format, and the majority of them being like Eradicators, is pretty telling. So that is one problem. And then within that, there are 2 separate problems. One is Stunverse with Vowing Reverse, where that's just a really powerful interaction. You can like rip a bunch of cards in your opponent's hand, and then use Vowing's lock ability and just rip even more cards out of your opponent's hand, while gaining a metric ass load of power. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the majority of Eradicator tops are Vowing Saber is like a pretty good sign that that is a problem. But then separate from that is also Sweep Command with Exterminate, where because Sweep Command activates on place, you can just clear your opponent's front row and always get the like draw 2 plus 20k to your front row at the very least. Mm-hmm. And then like separate from that is just the fact that like Stunverse and Exterminate being in the same deck together means it's just really hard to play around Narukami right now. Because if you commit a board, they can deal with it with Stunverse. If you don't commit a board, then they'll just plus off of Exterminate, and you kind of end up with the same end state either way.
Right.
So I think hitting Stun... I would probably just get rid of Stunverse entirely. I think the interaction with Vowing is too powerful. After that, we're probably going to see people just going on to Sweep Command and Exterminate. I'm tempted to let that ride out a little bit just because it's still fairly new. Like, both of those came out very recently. And aside from Ty's top with it, we haven't really seen people playing that variant at like high levels. Most of the tops I've seen so far have just been Vowing.
Mm-hmm. It's just for Ripples to play into and die. No, actually though, right?
Yeah.
Like Ripples does their thing, and you're like, okay, slam.
Yeah, he mentioned that to me off mic, that was his reason for doing that.
I mean, it was pretty clear from the list. I thought.
But like he made a point. Like we were talking about this off mic, and he was like, "So I can't play around Mystery Flare. I can play around Ripples. Yeah, so I'm going to do that."
And Ripple players will run right into it because, like I said, it gives you a minus 50 intellect debuff.
Sorry, Jaime.
Well, he won his, so
yeah, no. Well, something about that infinite loop. I don't know. However it is he did it.
But yeah, I think Narukami has like 3 separate problems, and I'm not sure which one is worse.
Right.
If you outright kill Stunverse, you take care of 2 problems at the same time, which is probably the most expedient way to do it, right?
That's what I would do.
Yeah, probably. I would also ban the Descendant starter just on principle of getting rid of ride-up decks.
Why the hell not? Sure.
Yeah, but I do think the ride down decks, like even in this post world, are still going to be annoying. But just I don't know what the answer is to that. It would have to require like a complete change of the stride rule. But I don't even know. Like if somebody has rode grade 3 this game at some point, or if both players have been grade 3 at some point this game, like it is in I think Thailand.
Yep. Yeah,
that would be probably better, actually. But otherwise, you're going to get Rolex or something. Like it's just so warping when your opponent can just ride down to grade 2.
And like most people are using V grade 3s as their main Vanguard, but like for some decks, it's just not enough to like do stuff.
Right. I mean, and if you do that to Pale Moon and don't kill them, you die.
Yeah.
So
Also, the curse text where both players have to be grade 3. Sometimes your V Vanguard like doesn't even do anything.
Yeah,
the worst.
Depending what your thing is, for sure. I don't know. I'm most of the time where I do competitive games, it's with Tachikaze, which can do stuff, and that's the exception rather than the rule most of the time. So, yeah, it's hard for a lot of people to do stuff.
True.
Let's see. What else we got? We have DBT08.
Yep. So they're giving direct support to all the glitters, thank God.
Okay, that's good.
So it looks like they're releasing new forms for all of the partner cards. So like the dolls, Maple, all those people.
That's good. And then it's got the name Minerva in it. It says upgrade for glitters.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so they're introducing 2 new ride lines for Brantgate and Dragon Empire. And then the other 3 get new encounter cards. So we're getting Lukier, Maelstrom, and Minerva. Minerva got a D retrain before a V version. V dead format.
I'm not sure. I just know that that's hilarious somehow. Because Minerva was like loved a lot for Genesis, which is for the most part overlooked in terms of like fan base. And I think it's funny that she's now Cater, which means she is in every single United Sanctuary clan now, basically. So depending what that does,
because they're just gonna put Genesis on it.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, if they do,
like they do for like
they do for the existing encounter cards.
Yeah, but it is still Tony Taka apparently.
Oh, that's good.
Who's still around, I guess.
That's good.
Yeah, to draw the same face.
Go back and look at that. Yeah.
But we had a Lowland Maelstrom. Now we have actual Maelstrom.
Oh my god!
It's like in the Pokemon games where you somehow get access to the Cantonian forms too.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Did you say Cantonian?
That's how they say it. Like
that's disgusting.
I swear to God, that's real.
I would just say the normal one.
Yeah.
Like it's normal muck, and it's a Lowland muck. And you would say, but he's not normal type. That's the punchline.
Sure, whatever. I'm just gonna let that one on. That's fine. But yeah, so you now have new Maelstrom and Lowland Maelstrom that is Flagberg at the same time.
I'm curious what they're going to do with Maelstrom, because I think this is the first instance of an encounter card where that mechanic very directly exists in the D format already in Flagberg. So, like, what can they possibly do to distinguish Maelstrom? Like, especially because in terms of like the way that Flagberg is designed, it's very similar to what the original Limit Break 4 Maelstrom did,
which was swing with your guys, go for the kill, and then continue.
Yeah. Well, it was like the Limit Break 4, you get 5k, and then on hit, retire something.
kill
draw,
yeah.
which is like exactly the same as what Flagberg does now.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what they're going to, because even if they make Maelstrom a restander like they did for V format, that still has the thing of like making X number of attacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most likely. So I have no idea what they can possibly do to make Maelstrom unique with Flagberg already existing.
Retire and draw a card.
And then you have a similar thing with Lukier and Dark States because Barrow Magnus. Kind of. Not quite as much, but
not quite. Like I don't think we had anything like that's directly Pale Moon where you're trying to like curate your soul to exactly what you want and then just like cycling cards out.
And especially for Lukier and the Silverthorns, their like style of Pale Moon is in your main phase, make a board, make that board huge, and swing with it. A lot of the like battle phase calling stuff was more in like Harry and Nightmare Dolls and things like that. So we might not have that problem, but it's still something that people thought of when it got revealed.
Yeah, and Minerva was a restander every time, so I'm pretty sure this one is just probably going to restand.
Almost certainly.
Whatever.
Soul Blast a bunch restand. Easy.
Yeah. No Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 3, restand it.
And there's going to be like barely enough encounter cards to get the soul for it, and then you're going to have to wait for
several
more cards. Yeah.
Get that Persona ride, all that good stuff. I just know that when I saw this revealed, I heard like an excited screaming from out on the horizon somewhere, wherever Chris happened to be working. Just
yeah. You're gonna have to listen to them gush about it forever.
True.
I'm going to locals tomorrow. I'm gonna see him tomorrow.
They're gonna talk about it for so much.
Oh no.
They're gonna be like Minerva, and you're gonna be like.
See, I want to buy a case of DBTOA just to see if I can get one of the serial number ones.
Can you imagine? Open number 69.
God, whoever is it's just going to be like $200 more than.
Yeah, you need 69 and 420.
Yeah. How many of them are there total again?
Usually 1,000.
Thousands?
0, or I think it's 1 to 999. So I guess 999.
Yeah, that's what they did for Phantom Blaster, I think.
But didn't EN get kind of like shorted on it?
Maybe
didn't they start at like 100 or something. Maybe.
I think so. Let's see. BTO7 is also reprinting the triggers with shields.
Good.
Which they should and is good.
I hate it when you look at a deck and those triggers are like $5 and you're like, oh come on.
They're like $10 now.
Oh my god.
Well, hopefully not for too long. Much longer.
How much does the Kyrie draw?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it recently. I have my playset. That's all I care about.
I think I own 6 for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I still never got all of the like soul crits outside of Stoicheia.
Same. Which is why I'm probably not going to be on Bob Sagra when we get to BCS for California.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yep. So that's fun.
Oh, Shaman King actually came out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that's crazy.
Do we have to do the set review now? Because it's that in English?
No, we don't have to do anything.
No, I'm being forced by the silent hand of our audience to make us do that.
I think a couple of the Shaman King decks are actually meta relevant, but like,
if I play in Standard for BCS and Shaman King shows up, I'm just going to be like, I did not learn anything about this deck.
Just refuse to read their cards.
It's entirely my fault.
Yeah, just refuse to read their cards.
Yeah.
Be like, I made a promise I would never read these. It's like when MBT is playing against something that he's never seen before. He's like, I'm not reading this.
Yep.
Probably. I'm listening to. Have you guys ever listened to the Lyons Led by Donkeys podcast?
No.
So it's just about like people who suck at war and like all the shitty things that happen in wars. And I'm listening to the one about the Winter War right now, which is when Russia rolled over Finland at the beginning of World War II. And a lot of it was like the Russians showed up thinking it was going to be a cakewalk because all the propaganda was like they're like a backwater province and they're barefoot and starving and like you're liberators. And then they showed up and got their asses kicked because it was Finns being like, you're coming into our homeland. Also, you didn't bring skis. So that pretty much is what's going to happen.
So what is this? Weiss Schwarz Blau? Exactly.
I don't know. I don't play Weiss.
So what's interesting about this is Weiss normally has like visual novels and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't typically have Uta prints, which
Uta
I think
prints?
is Utapri, which is an incredibly popular otome genre, I believe. Otome game. Basically, there's like a girl and there's a bunch of handsome dudes who are all available. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
I think you can figure out the rest from here.
Right.
Yes.
And then there's always some like evil girl who's like trying to prevent you from, I don't know, existing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, true life simulator.
Yep.
Right.
But you can't really get too mad about it because there are like a bunch of them on the other end. But it is very, very popular if I recall correctly. It prints dollar dues.
There is a Star Wars premium booster.
Oh yeah. There's a Star Wars set in Weiss, but you are not allowed to sell it in the United States because of copyright issues.
And then
the same is true for the Marvel one, right?
Yeah.
And the same, I assume, is also true for the Pixar set.
Oh
Probably, but just the fact that you can play Mike Wazowski.
True. It's time for me to buy Azure Lane cards. I've never played Azure Lane, but I just like one of the ships in there, and that's it. But I've never played that game, and I refuse to.
Wouldn't it suck if your
Sounds like a
ship
good
was
choice.
like Cope?
Yeah. No, I'm just gonna buy Baltimore cards, and that's gonna be the end of that.
All right. I feel bad for talking about Weiss on our Decidedly Vanguard podcast.
Decidedly Vanguard.
Yeah, like all the times we've talked about Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh on this podcast.
But usually it's for comparative purposes in terms of like card design.
Second it's Weiss, we're out of here.
No.
Cancels are like the Overtrigger. No, I'm just kidding. They're nowhere close.
Kill me.
They're actually nowhere close.
Look, I thought it would be interesting to talk about this topic, especially because we mentioned Stunverse a few tens of minutes ago back.
True.
I'm using the weirdest phrases today. Anyway, so on Twitter today, I said, what do people think of strides that leave the heart cards effect intact, either by Chain Rancor, Crystal Luster, Stunverse, Bad Bounty, Next Stage, all that kind of stuff. Spear X, kind of. Like, is that bad card design or not? And like a good amount said yes compared to no. It's like, I think 2/3 to 1/3 or something like that.
Yeah. We have a 2/3 majority. Yeah,
we have a 60-40 split on yes, it's bad design versus no. What do we think about this?
I think it's really hard to future-proof, which is probably
Yes.
the reason why it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's... I think it's bad design depending on the second effect you attach to these cards.
Mm-hmm.
If it were like just gain the hard card effects, no other effect, people would be like, whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's like, oh, I'm going to gain the hard card effects, also triple door, is like...
Yeah. Because there was like a Prism card that copied the hard cards way back when. And that card's like fine.
Yeah.
Because
Bad
the second
Bounty
effect
isn't that much of a problem either.
Right. Well, I mean, that's different. I think Grand Blue case is a bit different. But...
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Because the Bad Bounty turn is really freaking gross.
It is. It's very good.
Yes.
I'm not going no matter what this is, it's still good. I'm not saying it's not good, but I'm saying that like, is it bad design for the game overall for them because they tried to kind of have their cake and eat it too by doing you can keep strides, but also you can keep the VFX. And then we're in a bit of a quandary right now about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like you are effectively getting two Vanguards with a lot of these, because like Bad Bounty, you're playing it with a Break Ride too, so you technically have like 3 Vanguards in that case.
Yeah,
and then things like Crystal Luster, Stunverse, all of those cards, like they have their own effects.
Yeah,
and that's like part of the problem is, so like Stunverse, for example, you wipe your opponent's board, you draw, you rip cards out of your opponent's hand, and then you still have whatever the grade 3 is going to be doing afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal Luster, most people are just copying Salami right now, so you get like a restander that also has the triple door effect.
Right.
I think Train Rancor isn't really doing anything because there's nothing interesting going on there, but like...
It's there.
Yeah, it's there.
It could turn into something,
Yeah, I would imagine someone... I don't know.
I think if Claret Sword ever becomes good, it's probably...
I feel like they would probably try to do something with Raging Form.
Oh, with Chainraker? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Keep the name.
Yeah. So the original Raging Form re-ride, so I don't think that you would go for that one.
You can ride over the Chainraker. It just goes back to G-Zone.
Yeah, no, but then you lose the triple door effect.
Right.
So I'm thinking maybe like the reverse version, maybe? Was that one just a regular restander?
I believe so.
Yeah, so if anything, I would probably like maybe something with like Raging Fall reverse. And Train Ranker, something might happen. This is not important. The point is, like, I think these cards are mostly bad design just because you, like, have a Vanguard effect, and then you, like, or you effectively have 2 Vanguard effects, and we banned Gastile for that very reason.
Oh, man. I didn't even think of Gastile. That's,
Well, yeah, because he's banned.
Well, no, right. But I mean, like, I didn't think to make the connection between Gastile and these, which is, vague at best, but still something to consider with things like this. I
think part of it is that Gastile is faster than a lot of these cards,
right? Because you don't have to you don't have to be on it. You can just grab it out of deck.
Yeah,
So,
but yeah, like Stunverse with Vowing Reverse is obviously really strong recently, and the card has just been a problem before this. Crystal Luster, I think Jewel Knights aren't strong enough for this to be a huge problem, but on principle, it's not a great thing. All it takes is like some sort of Royal or Keter card to be ridiculously broken for Crystal Luster to be stupid.
And you have the same thing with Chainraker. Like, there's just not the infrastructure there to take advantage of it yet.
Yeah. It's also just kind of lazy, because like rather than trying to incorporate the current standard cards into premium with new strides, they're just like, keep doing what you were doing, but slightly bigger now.
Yeah, I think the ones that like aren't stupidly designed are the ones that try and make an effort to like incorporate themselves with the clan, like your Bad Bounty, like Spear X. Whereas, yeah, like just being like, yeah, fuck it, do the thing you were doing. It's cool with me.
I really just think that the ones that like add like more offensive pressure in addition to the text is quite obnoxious.
Yeah, like anything that adds a second effect, because like even something like Bad Bounty though, like you're still getting a restander plus whatever the card you're rewriting is going to do. So like that's the problem with all of these, is like it's so hard to balance it without just making a stride that straight up only copies the ability of the heart card and that's it.
That would be so easy and so lazy. And at the same time, I think if they started with that, we would probably be more okay with the idea than we are now. Like if they just went, okay, here's a stride that just copies your heart card. You have all your other strides still, but this is a thing you can do.
Yeah, I know why Shining Garnet is not a card anyone cares about. It's because it only copies one ability from the heart card.
You have to pick one ability? That's balancing, though. That's not a bad idea.
Like people still played Shining Garnet. Just like I think the reason why it was never a huge problem is because it only copied one ability and not everything. So there was only like so much you could actually do with it.
At the same time, though, then does it turn it like if they were to, never do this, never have strides that either get out of the way or copy the ability, whatever. That means for premium, you would largely just be on these V bosses that do something on ride or like at end of turn or something defensively. and that's it? Would you like it lowers the pool of deck building?
Yeah, like that is a problem. Like they would need to make more strides that incorporate these new play styles into, like, I'm trying to figure out how to word this properly.
Magic of editing. It's okay.
Yeah. No, but like I'm trying to say is like, because we have had the situation before where you just have these hard cards that don't matter whenever they printed legacy strides. And so the important thing was that they made the strides do what the deck wanted to do. So like using the current D standard as an example, you probably, if you want to support like premium prison cards, you would probably just need to make something that directly make a stride that directly imprisons things, or like that cares about set orders.
Yeah.
And then, same thing with like overdress, something that like benefits from the overdress mechanic, something that retires stuff.
Yeah. And that's like just part of a thing with how premium is, where they don't directly support it except for premium collections.
Yes.
So that's also something that's hard to care about, if you're Bushiroad, because like in Japan it's their least popular format. So everything that happens is coincidental, A, and B. Okay, as the Magic person or person who has played Magic,
yep.
How do they deal? Like, how many formats are they usually supporting at a time? Or how does the 3? How does the rotation work? Is it one set for each format and then start over again? Or
no, so there are only one rotating format for Magic.
Okay.
And there's the other 2 are basically eternal formats where you can just cards are legal forever. However, in recent years they've been printing such powerful cards in Standard that it kind of always infects the previous formats.
I see.
So that's why you have Omnath in every format.
You have what in every format?
Omnath. It's like a crazy card.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What are it's Standard Commander, right? Isn't that a big one?
Standard, Modern, and something else generally.
Okay.
They flip between what the last format they care about is. At one time it was Pioneer, then they stopped caring about that format by letting it rot. The Legacy is basically rotting. They don't really think about Commander too much because most Commander players are pretty self-governed. There's like a banned list, but like it's done by some weird committee.
That's pretty cool.
Well, it's cool and uncool at the same time.
Cool in terms of the like self-governed and like community focused and stuff. That's the cool part.
Basically, it basically relies on you finding a play group that's not shit.
Right. Man, that's kind of what my locals is. Anyway. But yeah, so I don't know. I guess that's something to think about. Do you, like, aside from the Twitter poll, you listener, do you think this is bad design by having strides that get out of the way or copy the heart card? What would you do to fix them? If so, would you get rid of them entirely? Let us know at Nexus at Night, Twitter, Instagram, patreon.com/Nexus at Night. Help support the show. Get a bonus show every week. And then how about the rest of us?
You can find me on Twitter at Wiggums, 2Gs, 2Zs.
You can find me at Plasma Eclipse.
Find me at Atlas Novak, Twitter, Instagram, or you can follow my other show at Generation Dan on Twitter, Generation_Dan on Instagram. We have Orchid Cameron as our guest this week, who just finished taping his special for Netflix. So that's fun. Yeah. Merch, playmats, that's all in the description. And thanks everybody for listening. And until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.